Hey, everybody. Here's a quick word about our sponsors. First one being LASRApp. You can find them at www.lasrapp.com. They're a laser activated shot reporter. They're amazing what it can do, all of the things that you can do with it, multiple guns, multiple locations, any type of target. They have a smorgasbord of items on their website store. Check them out. Use the affiliate link below or on our website, casualshooterpodcast.com, and use the code CSP 2021 for up to 15% off items not covered by the affiliate link. Next up, we have Gun Butter. I am one of those people that I clean my gun all the time because I feel like you've always got to clean the crud and put a fresh coat of lubrication on it. That's because of the stuff we had to use in the military. I didn't like it, but I have finally landed on something I can get behind, and that is gun butter. I did not shoot. I did not clean my gun at all at nationals. I did not clean it after the match before nationals, nor the match before that. And there's still gun butter oil on my gun. And I'm going to be using their grease on the lugs of my bolt gun. Next, we have HOIST. It is IV level hydration. It's clinically proven to absorb 110% faster than water. You've got all the right ingredients of your electrolytes that you need: magnesium, calcium, sodium, potassium. It's all in there. A little bit of sugar, but that mixes the right amount to make it absorb rapidly so it's not sitting in your belly and weighing you down. So check it out. Get hydrated, stay hydrated. And thanks for checking out our sponsors. It helps with the podcast. Welcome to this week's edition of the Casual Shooters Podcast, your premier podcast for the casual shooter. This week's guest is a junior shooter. He missed out on being the limited national champion by a mere 36/100ths of a point. While that might be heartbreaking for some, that is a spectacular finish. Obviously, he has a very bright future ahead of him. Welcome my guest this week, Scott Brown. How you doing, Scott?
Good, how are you?
Good. Why don't you take a second and introduce yourself?
Well, like you said, my name's Scott Brown. I'm 17 years old. I've been shooting USPSA for almost 5 years now, and I'm still in high school, so I'm still a full-time student, and definitely enjoy USPSA as a side thing.
Awesome. All right. That brings up a lot of questions. But have you heard any of our episodes before?
I have, yep.
Okay. I hope you've studied. These first 5 questions are tough. So those are our icebreaker questions. We get to know our guest. The first one is, what's your favorite movie?
It's a tough question. I was thinking about that, but definitely my favorite movie category is a thriller movie. And my top 3 movies are all thrillers. That's Nightcrawler, Seven, and Fight Club. But for the sake of the people listening to the podcast, they probably know what Fight Club is, and that would be my favorite movie.
Okay. Now I've got to ask you though, Nightcrawler 7. What is Nightcrawlers?
Nightcrawler and Seven are both separate movies. They're both thrillers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Okay, I know 7. So what is Nightcrawler?
Yeah. Nightcrawler is a movie about a guy who he basically steals a whole lot to get money, and then he just wasn't getting enough money, and he saw night crawlers, which are basically people that arrive at crime scenes to get videos for the news, and he pursued that, and then there's a whole lot of character development and how he's a little bit of a psychopath, so he does his own ways to get the shots that he wants, and I think it's a really outstanding movie.
Okay. Wow. Pretty interesting. It's a little bit of a thriller there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have found during this doing this podcast that not a lot of people read anymore. But what is your favorite book?
I'm definitely one of those people. I'm not much of a reader.
Okay.
Outside of school, I don't see myself picking up a book anytime. But the ones that I have read, I would say Of Mice and Men was one of the books that I enjoyed most during my school reading.
Wow. Okay. There's a classic. I don't think I've heard that answer yet. That's a good one.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad, but I don't read, so I don't know really what a good book is.
Okay. It's just a mandatory reading. I get it.
Yep.
All right. I don't know if you're into superheroes. If you are, what is your favorite superhero? Or who is your favorite superhero?
So my favorite superhero is Thor. I just think he's super cool, God of Thunder. Um, I think some of his movies are really good, which is kind of why I pick him. But I just think he's like super powerful and has a lot of cool abilities.
Yeah, I've never. I was never much of a comic book person. Um,
Mhm.
the only thing I really watched superhero wise, which was growing up, there was a Spider-Man cartoon, so I watched that all the time. But I will say the Thor movies are very good. They're quite
Yeah, I enjoyed
impressive.
the last couple.
I even think they even had an Aquaman cartoon when I was growing up, and the Aquaman movies are pretty good too. I'm impressed with those. All right, your favorite gun and caliber, but they don't have to be married together. I know you shoot limited, so I mean your favorite gun could be your limited gun, but it doesn't mean that your favorite caliber has to be 40 cal. Okay.
Yeah. Well, favorite caliber has to be 9 millimeter. Um, I mean, it's just the best round out there for everything. Low recoil. It's got all the good stuff about it. And my favorite gun would probably have to be probably the 2011 in general. I just think it's hard to mess up a 2011 or the 1911. I really liked shooting single stack when I shot that earlier in 2021.
Hmm, interesting. So you shot single stack. Okay. Have to come back to that. All right. So you know as well as anybody, the Canic Rival won 4 national championships this year,
It
not
did.
including two gun and IDPA and European IDPA. And we all know it's the gun, not the shooter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is there a Canic Rival in your future?
Uh, I actually really like the mechanics, but no, I'm probably just gonna stick to the 2011s and maybe the CZs.
Okay, fair enough. We'll get into more of the nationals and what happened there. So now, by your own admission, you've been shooting USPSA for 5 years. However, when did you first shoot a firearm?
Ooh, that probably was when I was about 7 or 8 years old. Uh, and my dad bought a little bolt action single shot 22, and it was me and my brother going out to the range, and we were just shooting together. And basically after that, my dad would take me to just the range just to shoot about every other month because my brother and I have always enjoyed shooting. And then it wasn't till about when I was 12 years old where I saw my first USPSA match, and then I shot it. So
Did you like see it one weekend and shoot the next weekend, or?
yeah, I basically saw it one weekend, and then the weekend after, I shot it.
So you got a little single action or a 22 bolt action single shot
Mhm.
rifle. How did you guys go from? Because I know your brother shoots,
Mhm.
and you have to let him know that I am going to want to have him on at some point. So I'll send him an invite. But How do you go from shooting this bolt action 22 at 7 or 8 to shooting USPSA at 12? What happens in between that time frame?
Yeah, so basically it was just the 22 that started off, and then, you know, as I got bigger and bigger and my dad was more comfortable with me, handling larger firearms, it moved from, 22 rifle to 22 pistol um to his AR, and then I got to shoot a little bit of an actual handgun once my hands got big enough. And then at that point, we were going to the range about every month. So it was something that I was really looking into, and I was actually watching with my dad the Shooting USA
Mm.
special about a three gun match. So it was really three gun that I wanted to do. Um, and then that was just like a little thought that said like, "Hey, Dad, I want to shoot that one day." And then a little time passed, and my dad ran into someone who shot a little. It wasn't a USPSA match, but it was a little unsanctioned action pistol match out in Ottawa, Kansas. And we went down there. I shot it, and I just loved it. And then basically that was um, where it all started for me.
And that was a 3-gun match.
No, it was just an action pistol. I've actually never
Oh,
shot
okay.
three gun.
So when in your first USPSA match, what division were you shooting?
I was shooting limited. It was limited minor just because the Glock that I had, they didn't want to put me in production because I didn't have enough magazines for 10 rounds. So I just shot limited minor, and I've stuck with limited until I got a 2011 to shoot limited major.
So you just filled up your mags and went with it.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. So your first introduction to USPSA is 12 years old. You're shooting limited minor with a Glock. Did you do what type of prep did you do to get ready for that in 1 week's time?
There wasn't much prep to it. I was really clueless when it came to that. I I'm really lucky because I live in Kansas City and we have a whole bunch of great shooters around here. So it was really easy for me to learn the ropes because you had a whole lot of talented shooters, teaching me how to be safe, you know, and just helping me move along the match. But really, I was being guided until about a couple months in to where I got the hold of it and I can kind of become independent.
Okay. Yeah, and that's probably what I was leaning more towards when I was asking the question was
Mhm.
obviously you're not going to do any training to try to be any type of classification, but what did you do to look for, learning the rules and the safety aspects of it? Did you do any of that before?
No, it was really put on to the people that were running the USPSA match, and the one that I did, it was really good. My dad taught me great firearm safety, so there wasn't really a whole lot of that because I've been shooting before. But really, just explaining, how to run a course and everything. It was taught to me by the local shooters, and after a little bit, I got the hang of it.
Okay. So what was your first classification in USPSA?
Um, C class. I think I got a really low C class, and I didn't understand the classification, so um, I didn't really know how the classification system works. So when I found out that I was C class, I thought that is a really bad thing for a new shooter. But looking back now, I'm actually pretty proud that I made C class on my first classification when I was 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good for someone who really didn't have a whole lot of experience shooting anything. So
Hmm.
starting off at C class, yeah, that's good. I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna interject the national champion questionnaire right now.
Okay,
How tall are you?
I'm 6 feet tall.
Oh, there we go. We've already met one. Got to be at
Tim.
least 5'12" and you met it.
Really? All right. Well,
Yep.
I'm
Yeah, I don't know how Christian Seiler's a national champion. He's breaking the rules. But I
is
mean, look
JJ
at
is
Nils and Mason, and I think JJ's cheating the system a little bit too. I
is he
think
on
he's
that
like
5'11" line?
5'11". Yeah, he's
But says
not.
he's 6 foot.
Yeah, he's like 4 foot
Hmm.
23 inches. He's not quite there.
Yeah,
So, are you homeschooled?
I'm not. I never been homeschooled. I went to preschool, and I'm currently a junior in high school.
Okay. And did you grow up on a farm?
No, I am in South Kansas City.
Okay. Well, typically what we found is those who do really well are all three of those. So
Hmm.
you are also in the mold of JJ and Christian. So there you
Yeah,
go. Not bad company to be in.
no, it's not.
All right. Um, I had a question. So let's go back to before we get into all the rest of this. How did you dabble in single stack?
So for the reason why we shot Classic Nationals earlier this year is because my brother's in college, and at the time that single stack registration opened, he wasn't sure where he was going to go to college. So it very much could have been the last national championship he shot. So we really wanted to go there. Um, and because it was so early in the year, I was comfortable doing a division that I'd rather shoot because I think limited 10's a little bit boring, even though I'm a limited shooter. So one of the local shooters let me borrow a gun, and I trained about 3 months for single stack nationals, and I really enjoyed it. I just wish there was a little bit more competition in single stack, and I probably would have stuck with it. But I was really happy with how I did. I believe I got seventh at single stack nationals, and I won A class.
You're making a habit of that winning A class thing.
Yeah, my brother won it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think competition wise, production, single stack, and limited 10 are all in that same boat. Production, especially since Carry Optics came on board.
Hmm.
So okay, so you 12 years old, you start shooting USPSA. 17 years old, you are literally tenths of a point from winning your first national championship. What did that 5 years look like? Did you start practicing on a regular basis to because that's what you wanted to do?
Um, yeah, so national championship was kind of my immediate goal for shooting. Like I never really wanted to say I'm like pursuing to be a GM. I actually got my GM as my last classifier that counted was nationals. So I was master up until nationals. But really it was the national championship that I was going for. And for about the first year of shooting, I really had no desire of getting better. I mean, I did because, you just got the practice in and you understand it a little bit more. But the my second year, one of the shooters here in Kansas City named Merle Eddington, who won nationals back in '94, I believe, he kind of took me under his wing and provided me with some training. And that's when I really got the spark to be better and to pursue some of my goals for the upcoming seasons. So a lot of big strides were made for me in my second year. And then my third year with COVID, it was kind of just me by myself because of quarantine and everything. And then this year, I really tried to put in the work and almost up in probably a month prior to nationals, I was, trying to get as much live firing as I could, and I was dry firing about 2 hours a day.
So what was it about that training that you did with that gentleman that sparked the interest? What was it seeing gains you were or what?
Yes, yeah, it was definitely that the training that he was giving me was really showing that I had the abilities to um, achieve the dreams that I had in practical shooting, and with him and all, his knowledge that he's gained throughout the years that he's been shooting, it really allowed me to get get a hold of myself and understand what I'm capable of, and that's what really, gave me the drive to attack my, career.
Obviously, back then, everything was open. At what point did you make the transition from the Glock to the 20? I assume you're shooting a 2011 platform now.
Yes, yes.
So when did you make that transition?
So about August of 2020, I was registered for nationals, and for me to compete at the nationals, I wanted to shoot major, to get an accurate representation of where I ranked amongst the best shooters in the country. So I got that, and then I trained up until nationals, and then I shot my first nationals getting 34th or 38th, something like that.
And what year was that?
2020,
Okay, so this was your third national?
my first. The limited nationals in 2020 was my first nationals, and then I shot
Right.
2021
And
limited nationals, and then 2021 single stack nationals, and then this year's 2021 is 2021 limited nationals, 2022 single stack, and then 2022 limited. So I've shot four
okay.
Oh, and carry optics. I also shot carry optics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you shot 5 different nationals.
Yes.
Okay. And there you go. Go ahead and take a drink. I'll speak for a minute. So I thought you said Earl Eddington, but I wasn't sure. But it's Merle Eddington.
Merle.
So yeah,
Yes.
that's my fault. Yeah, he was the Open National Champion in 1994, and Rob Leatham was the Limited National Champion that same year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, pretty cool. A little bit of history going on there. Nothing wrong with that. 3 years ago puts you at 14. So you shot your first nationals at the age of 14. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yep.
So you'd only been shooting for 2
Or no,
years.
I was 15, because my birthday is right before nationals, which puts me a year forward.
Okay. So you were like 15 by a month.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Still, you'd only been shooting for 2, maybe 3 years at the most.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel going into that nationals?
It that nationals was definitely like just a mental trap for me. I mean, I noticed it on my first stage, all throughout the first day, just being at home. Like, it was just very mentally pressuring me. I had a whole lot of shooting mistakes, and I mean, it just definitely wasn't a good match for me. At the end of it, I was just beating myself up because I knew I could have got done a little bit better. But that's kind of what made me, train for the 2021 season a whole lot more. But I mean, I still performed fairly well for the amount of time that I had behind my limited gun that I recently got. But overall, that nationals was just a really big learning point for me.
Now that's a very interesting point, and I've been throwing the question out to a lot of different guests. But do you do anything specifically to train for mental performance?
Yeah, so a lot of the training that I do is trying to make um, dry fire as similar to live fire, and then live fire is similar to a match condition as I can. So I noticed that once I saw like a whole bunch of mental mistakes, I would start practicing in live fire, putting pressure on in certain situations. When it comes to like the stage, not just like thinking like, oh, this is the nationals, I have to compete. That's a whole different thing that you just have to get over. You just, you know, so in the 2021 season, I just said I'm going to shoot a whole lot of matches. And then I'm just going to really try and work on my, just like the way I handle it mentally. And then in live fire, I just tried to put mental stress on myself during shooting different drills and different short stages in live fire and dry fire, trying to minimize the mistakes and then train those out.
Now, do you listen to the Steve Anderson podcast at all?
I've maybe listened to it a couple times.
Because he's big into the mental management aspect of shooting. So I didn't know if maybe you listened to some of that, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I have read Ben Steger's book, Mental Manage or some. It's a match mentality book.
Any good takeaways from there that you were able to apply?
Yeah, basically just learning how to attack different stages and then just going into the match. Really, I'm not much of a reader, so I kind of just opened up the book to a random page, read it, and then, see if I could apply that to a match I was going to.
Okay. So you're 15, you go to your first nationals. You don't feel you performed up to your ability. You had a lot of
hmm
mental mistakes. What did you do? You went back the very next year. How did you change your training other than what the little bit we've talked about? But what did you do differently to prepare yourself for the next one?
So I had a much more strict and much more consistent dry fire routine. Um, Going into the 2020 nationals, I was basically just dry firing when I just kind of had nothing to do, and I never set aside time to dry fire. But for the 2021 season, I was dry firing every day, um, from basically the beginning of January to nationals. So that was a big thing that I did, and making sure that I was getting value out of my dry fire um, was a big part of that. And then also changing a little bit of my live fire, demanding higher performance, and then trying to pressure myself to see mistakes that I'm making, and then addressing those mistakes with dry fire and more training. So it was a really big year for me in dry fire, and I really think that that was one of the things that helped me do how I did at 2021 nationals, which I got 14th place.
Wow, big jump.
hmm
And you think a lot of that just had to do with your dry fire, or what would you say the that big jump? What percentage of that was dry fire, and what percentage was live fire?
Live fire, I would say I would say dry fire probably pushed me up about 70% of the way there. Like
Okay.
nice quality thought through dry fire, and then the rest was it wasn't really live fire. I don't find that I make a whole lot of ground in live fire. I mean, but I think majority of it was mental like fortification and drive fire, and then a little bit of physical ability because at the time, 15, I'm still weighing a whole, 10, 15 pounds less and a little bit shorter, not as athletic, and I didn't have the grip strength that I did. But yeah, I would say that the my mental game and dry fire is what really accelerated me that year.
Okay. Now, how did you learn? It's going to be a weird question, but how did you learn to dry fire?
So I really watched like a lot of videos of other people dry firing, and then I also have Ben Steger's book on dry firing. Um, I learned a lot from the some of the books and some of the things that Ben has taught me, and also just what other people have taught me around the Kansas City area. But dry fire for me, I basically knew from the start that I couldn't do what everyone else does in dry fire because what someone else does isn't always what's going to work best for you. So I really had to dry fire a whole lot and find out what things would work for me and what didn't. And then I basically just found a style of dry fire that I like and what gave me the best results that I'm still sticking to today.
Now, do you have a structured dry fire, like a dry fire schedule where certain days you dry fire certain things, other days you dry fire different things?
No, so a lot of the dry fire that I do is based on my prior match performance. So if
Hmm.
something lost me some time on a stage, so let's say I had, a really bad entry and, I got into my spot, I didn't have my gun up and then I shot really fast because I felt slowed down. I would start working on my entries and then I would focus on like what my feet are doing, and then once I got my feet right, I'd focus on what my gun's doing, and then I'd do it a couple more times, getting faster and faster until I saw myself developing more issues, and then I would address that. But when the time between matches, I would really just go downstairs, like pick up the gun, and I would just do some simple like warm ups stuff, like draws, reloads, and then I would try to get into simple arrays of, or like simple small stages to where there's a little bit of movement, a little bit of a mix of small and wide transitions. And then I would just see what I had to work on then from what I either feel or what I see during dry fire.
All right, so two questions then. One, what did you do to address the mental aspect of, oops, now I have to speed up my shooting, when which typically leads to worse scoring because
Hmm.
your hits aren't as good. And then number two, how do you, when you're at what point do you determine the things you're going to work on? Do you do it at the match, immediately after the match? Do you write these things down? How do you record all that?
Um, so I'll start off with that second question, and I know what I need to work on the second I'm done shooting a stage. Like I can tell what I did wrong basically before target scoring started. And then that would basically stick with me for the rest of the match. And that was one of the things that helped me mentally get better performances throughout the match so I can understand what I did wrong on one stage. And then I can apply that to my stage plan on the next to better my score and hopefully not make the same mistake or a similar mistake. Um, so that's really how like I analyze it. And then I also watch videos to critique my technique and you know and then I also recently this year I got a hat camera, which is really nice for seeing what how my gun is moving, which I've noticed a couple little small things that I couldn't get out of the third person video. And then I forgot that first question. Would you mind repeating that?
No, I don't mind at all. What? So you said you were moving slow into position and then you were rushing your shots.
Hmm.
So what
Yeah.
did you do? So you talked about everything you did to address the physical movement and getting into position and doing all of that. But what did
Hmm.
you do to address the mental performance of now pushing to shoot faster?
So I've always been someone who just wants to shoot really, really fast. And basically, I never try and speed up during a stage, and I think I've disciplined myself very well on that this year, especially, to where I'll just shoot what my sights tell me to do, and that's really one of the things that I did. So in dry fire, I would make sure to push as much as I can in dry fire, and then during live fire, I wouldn't push as much, but I would still see how my dry fire is doing in relation to live fire. And then basically, I left the thought of, saying like, oh, I messed up here. I got to speed up my shooting on a different part of the stage to gain that time. That mentality really drop my scores, and it was a lot of the reasons why I had a couple bad stages in that 2021 2020 year. But now I'm getting to the point to where I'm trusting myself that even with some mistakes, I can still recover and still get a stage time or stage performance that can hold up at the end of the match.
That's pretty scary that you've learned that at 17. So
Hmm.
that's awesome for you. That shows a lot of maturity in the shooting game. So that's very good. You said 2021 you were 14th.
Hmm.
And then this year you were second. So what did you do between 2021 and 2022 to make that gain?
So that was even more dry fire and extremely strict dry fire, and identifying what I had to do right and really trying to perfect that. So basically, I really stressed match performance that year because I knew that my shooting ability was almost to the point to where I can perform at a top three performance at a nationals. So really, it was trying to make sure that my putting a whole lot of value into my stage plans, and then making sure that um, everything that I do in live fire can be put into my stage plans, and making sure that I get the best stage I can get out of it. So that was one of the things that I really did this nationals, to where I could see a spot to where I know I can take advantage of this specific scenario, because of the skills that I've worked on in live fire and dry fire, and then I can apply that to better my stage time or to better my points. Um, but really, a whole lot of it was just very strict, very deliberate dry fire and live fire. Um, and I mean, if you look at how much live fire I've done over the years, I mean, 2020, I probably shot around 30,000 rounds. And then 2021, I shot about 20,000 rounds. 2022, I probably shot around 15,000. So I've been putting more value into the dry fire, as I've noticed that it's been really the thing helping me.
So do me a favor and define strict dry fire.
So basically, what I would do is I would make a small stage that has movement, wide transitions, short transitions, a draw, and possibly a reload, or some kind of weird starting position. And I would make sure that everything would be perfect. So I would first run through it, and I would just focus on my feet, making sure my feet are in the exact same place. And then I would run through it, just go to spot, and then making sure that my gun's going to the spots where I want it to. And then I would do the exact same thing just with everything, and then I would just focus on what I would focus on during a regular course of fire. And then basically, I would go I would try and push a little bit more, trying to push my movement speed, trying to leave earlier on a position, and try and develop a mistake. And then I would address that in dry fire drills, and making sure that, basically everything stays perfect in a course of fire that I create in dry fire.
Do you work out physically to try to increase your explosiveness or anything like that?
Um, a little bit, but really, it's not like I practice squatting to build more leg power. I would rather I spend my time focusing more on exiting positions with technique, a lot more, because I feel like the physical ability of shooting is a very small portion of it. And me being super young and I still have that agility with me, I've noticed that focusing on technique is really the thing that I need to work on. But this upcoming season, I definitely think I'm going to be putting a little bit more time on making myself a little bit more physically stronger and more agile.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that always helps. I think one of those measurements from other sports that would translate to shooting is like the
Hmm.
shuttle run type of a thing where short distances, changing
Hmm.
directions, that type of
Yep.
thing, the agility portion of stuff. Now, you also mentioned that you shot a lot more matches.
Yeah. So,
How
ooh, if I had to put a number on it, I mean, there were times where I was gone for every single weekend for about 5 weekends straight. Um, I mean, I shot matches in Colorado, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, Illinois, um, and then with a whole lot of national matches. I mean, I was just going everywhere I could, shooting. I even went to Ohio to shoot a match, Texas. I went down. I mean, I shot everywhere, and that was really just so I can get those match reps that I think I needed. I just needed to shoot a couple more matches, but this year I definitely toned down on the matches that I shot, and I definitely think that that was a smart move for me because I felt that this year my mental state was really good.
All right, so I definitely think there's a benefit as you're learning and getting better and
Hmm.
growing in the shooting sport, quantity over quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where I think you need all those reps to learn what you need to learn and do what you need to do and get different experiences to learn from. So I
yeah,
like that
I
you're
definitely agree.
you're okay, and I like that you're now doing quality over quantity.
Yeah,
Now,
I
how do you see next year comparing to this year?
so next year I'm gonna try and shoot more matches where there's possibly going to be a little bit more competition. So I think I'm gonna shoot Area 5. I'm shooting Dragons Cup. I'm still debating on what if I'm going to shoot like Carry Optics Nationals, but I'm going to be trying to shoot basically just the local level twos and a couple more level three matches that I can really get a good gauge on some really good competition across the country.
Okay, now that brings up two more questions,
Mhm.
and I'm going to ask them together. Who goes with you to all these matches? And number two, like, what's your limit of? I assume you're driving to most of these, so what's the limit of drive time that you attend to matches?
So basically, if you can get it done in a day of driving, depending on like what the match is. So if it's a match like Dragons Cup, we're going to be driving there because I think it's 10 hours and my entire family goes. So my mom, dad, brother, me, and a lot of the times my dog will go and
Woohoo!
to the
That's
nat.
cool.
Yep. And then my aunt will sometimes come down to the nationals because she's a big supporter in what I do.
This is not a shooting match. This is a party.
Yeah, a little bit. It's more of a family vacation, but
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. So did they go with you on every one of those 5 weekend trips or
no, it was that was a lot of just me and my brother and my dad a part of that year because my mom just wasn't having it with, you know, just
yeah.
moving everywhere. But this year, it was basically my mom, brother, and my dad went to every single match, and then my aunt came with me to two of the nationals they shot.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. Make it a big family affair. So now I have to ask, what kind of dog do you have?
I have a American Eskimo Border Collie, and his name's Bear.
American Eskimo Border Collie. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
No, he's a rescue, so we're not really sure if he's a Border Collie. He's some type of herding breed. He may be a cattle dog,
Okay.
but um, yeah, he's a little 30-pound dog with cute face and big ears.
High energy?
Sometimes,
Yeah,
you know,
sometimes those herding
he's
dogs.
either asleep or he is very active.
I've got two Great Danes, so I do love me
Oh,
some dogs.
I can't have dogs that size.
They one of them might probably does outweigh you.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, he's about 175 pounds.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I figured he outweighs my wife. Once he lays on her, she can't go anywhere because she's done.
Yeah, it's too much dog.
As far as I'm concerned, there can never be too much dog, but that's just me. But I'd also
Hmm.
be okay with a rhino for a pet. So now, which year did you shoot carry optics? This year?
This year. Yep.
Okay, I'll get into that in just a moment then. But what I want to ask first is, you've shot one, two, three, four nationals now. Five
5.
nationals. I'm sorry, five.
Yep.
Because single stack and carry optics, and three limited. 2020 was that at Frostproof?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Okay, so you've shot at least Frostproof and CMP. Have you shot anywhere else?
For a nationals, no.
Okay, so between the two, which is your favorite?
Uh, I mean, they both have their advantages. I definitely like Frostproof because there are more bays, so you can get a little bit more stages for the nationals. I feel like that's something that CMP lacked, especially at single stack, where they had 15 stages. But I mean, Frostproof has its own issues with how the bays are laid out to where the sun rises right above the bays. And driving to CMP is doable in one day. And we drove to Frostproof the first year, and that was, in my opinion, not the greatest car ride I've ever had. But I would have definitely liked to go back up to the Oklahoma, or not Oklahoma, Ohio. Um, I think that's going to be a good place to hold nationals.
Okay, now you mentioned that you shot in Ohio. Was that at the Cardinal Training Center, I think
It
is what it's called?
Yeah, it was for I shot SASP for a little bit, and that was for the SASP nationals. That was up there.
Now, how many bays did they have at that time? Do you know?
So we were shooting on Steel Challenge specific bays, um,
Mm.
which at they were in rough shape. They were being held up by excavators, the
Oh,
walls,
wow.
and they had a whole bunch of draining issues. But from what I hear about the bays that have been built for action pistol shooting, it's going to be a good range to host nationals. At least I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so too. And
Hmm.
I feel like there aren't that many ranges across the country that can do it.
No,
So,
I think Tulsa would be a good range, um, but I mean, I know that USPSA doesn't want to do it in frostproof, and CMP, there's not enough bays, and Colorado has the laws. So, um, I mean, there aren't a whole lot of places to go shoot at nationals.
so you probably know Gianni Giordano.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he was the one I was talking to on here that said if he ever sees Frostproof again, it's too soon.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's he's tired of Frostproof. But like you, I between Frostproof and CMP, I think I would probably pick Frostproof just
yeah. I mean,
because of the number of the bays and the way the bays are laid out.
yeah,
Meaning one line, one road and bays on each side of the road.
yeah. I definitely think that's good. The only problem with the bay layouts is that if you shoot in the morning, you get a whole lot of sun.
You do.
Um, but I mean, outside of the sun, I think it's an excellent place to host the nationals. I just know that there are problems getting a nationals there that USPSA can, afford.
Well, and I think the first year that I shot carry optics at CMP was last year. And I mean, we had a guy who shot in the dark.
Yeah,
So, I
yeah,
mean,
I saw.
that's as bad as having sun in your eyes. You can't see the targets.
Yeah, it all comes down to how the matches run, I guess. But it's really hard to get a perfect match.
It is. I agree. There's advantages and disadvantages no matter where you go. So it's just one of the things you have to deal with. The issue with CMP, I wouldn't even say was the ROs or anything. It just had to do with the fact that Alabama has that law where you can't shoot before 9 a.m. in the morning. So
Hmm.
you push shooting back an hour, you end up shooting an hour later into the evening. Had it been, we could have started shooting at 8, you would have never run into the problem. So I'm going to digress a little bit then, since you've been to Ohio. June Kim has a complaint with Frostproof that he didn't like the food in the area. I have an issue with the food at Talladega because everything closes ridiculously early. So you can't get dinner at like 7 o'clock in the evening if you're doing something through the day. Do you remember anything about what there is available in Ohio?
No, when it comes to eating before matches, I'm a really simple person. I'll either keep it to a Mexican restaurant that serves chicken fajitas, or I will eat some type of beef and potatoes the night before I shoot. So I don't really go out before I shoot.
What about at the end of the day after, like Nationals is a half day deal?
Yeah, I mean, still, I'll go out to eat. You know, if some of the shooting guys are out there, but I'm not much of an eat out person during a match. I'd rather just sit home and rest, getting ready for the next day.
Okay, so when you went to Nationals, you guys staying in an Airbnb or a hotel? Where are you?
Yeah, yeah, we had an
Airbnb?
Airbnb.
Okay, so are you then cooking at the house then where you're staying?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. All right, well, that makes sense then. So when it's just one person, I'm not doing an Airbnb, so I've got to go
yeah.
out and get stuff.
I understand that. I can't put any good recommendations for food up in Ohio.
Well, Shazam.
Yeah, we'll find
I
out.
was hoping. Oh, yeah. I'm sure people hear about it over multiple episodes with me. So, of the five of the three limited carry optics and single stack nationals, which one was your favorite to shoot?
I think it would probably be single stack nationals. I think the stages there were really good. I just wish that there were more stages. There was only 15 stages at that nationals, but I think they had some of the best stages I've shot at that nationals. And then also this year's limited nationals was really good.
What type of stages were at the single stack that you liked?
I think it was really good because it was a match just for low capacity. So the stages had
Mm.
a whole lot of challenges that force you to shoot 8 rounds in a specific position. It was a really healthy balance between difficult shooting, shooting on low capacity, shooting and moving, and then they also had um, forced strong hand shooting, which I really like. And I just think that some of the stages that they had there were really good. This year's limited nationals, though, had some really good stages, and I definitely think that the stages were a lot better than 2021 nationals, which I don't think was great. They had a couple good stages there, but this single stack and limited this year were two of my favorite nationals.
With this year's race gun nationals, and you shot limited, were there any stages at all that played to your weakness?
I mean, there was definitely one stage that I did really bad on, but I don't think it was really a weakness thing. Uh, I I try and train out my weaknesses as much as I can, and make it to where if I were put in a situation, I could um, do the task at hand. So there was nothing really at Race Gun Nationals that was too difficult, but I definitely struggled on one of the stages that they had. It was a one shot per reload, and then you had to do one shot per strong hand, and the shots on that were pretty tight. Although I had a good performance on that stage, that was really challenging for me.
I'm looking at your scores from race gun nationals, and you had one. You only had one stage outside of the top 25.
Yeah, and that was one stage that I remember that stage, but I don't remember what my sights were doing at all on that stage. And
Oh, wow.
I was talking to Henning on that, and basically, me and him were just talking about on how that if you see your sights and you can see your sights and call your shots, shooting's really not that hard. You really just gotta be smart with how you're doing. And that was the one stage where I wasn't calling shots and I wasn't seeing my sights how I needed to. And I think I had three mics on that stage. Um, but after that, it was a pretty smooth going match.
And yeah, you're correct. You had three mics and a Delta. Now, was that a strong hand, weak hand, anything like that, or?
No, it was just like a simple field course. I had a mic on a wide open target at 7 yards. I had a mic at a on a no shoot at 12 mic on a no shoot target at 12 yards, and then I had a mic on a wide open swinger that I shot three times at. So I really don't know what I did wrong. It wasn't like any of the shooting was, really hard to do. It was just, how, I shot it. And I wasn't, like I said, calling my shots on that one. That was really something that I stressed later on at the match, and definitely was a result to a really good day two for me.
You mentioned, was it this year that you did 2 hours of dry fire each day?
Yeah. Uh, Basically a month or two and up to nationals, I was doing around 2 hours of dry fire, sometimes up to 3 hours of dry fire a day, um, getting ready for nationals.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier, we were talking earlier, and it's like negative 21 degrees where you're at. So Mother Nature is going to make you not shoot outdoors on occasions. But do you take an off season? Like, are you taking time off from what you would normally do?
Yeah, I shot for the first time since nationals on Tuesday. I just shot a little indoor match, and then I stayed after just to shoot the guns that I brought with me and just have a little fun. But I definitely took some time off. And then once this blizzard that's going on right now is going to blow over, I'm going to get back into the live fire.
I think that's called an Arctic front.
It's whatever it is. It is cold.
Yeah, yeah, that's bitter cold.
Hmm.
There's a difference between cold and bitter cold, and you're in the bitter cold right now. When I was your age, I used to. I live in Virginia, so it doesn't get super cold. I've been here long enough to where I've seen cold temperatures, but I never thought it was cold until it got below 20. So, and negative 21 is significantly below 20.
Yeah.
So now, when will you pick up your training in earnest in prep for the season and nationals?
Um, I've already started to switch over from just so I try and keep my dry fire routine up. I just don't try and like quit dry fire. I was dry firing a little bit. It was definitely not as much or as strict. I definitely wanted to make sure I wasn't losing any of my skills that I was getting, but I wasn't trying to like better myself. I was just more trying to
Maintain.
hold on to what, yeah, maintain, hold on to what I had. But here in about a week or two, or basically the new year, I'm gonna start picking it up, trying to get better and attacking some live fire.
Now you mentioned Dragons Cup. Are you I'm assuming you're already registered for that one because I think that
Yep,
one
it
opened
filled
up and
up in about
closed in
10 minutes.
minutes. Yeah.
Yep.
It was ridiculous. So are you already registered for any other major matches?
No, not right now. But my brother and I are talking it over right now of what matches we want to go to this year, and set aside some. making sure that the times and our schedules work out from what we have with school and everything. So I believe I'm going to be shooting guaranteed limited nationals, area 3, 4, possibly 5. I'm going to be shooting the Kansas Free State. And then I'm going to be possibly shooting the Iowa sectional and the Nebraska Cornhusker match. And then I think I have room for about one more match that we're going to schedule and just see what match we would like to go to then. But yeah, and we're also thinking about going to Carry Optics Nationals or Open Nationals, depending on whether I can get a gun for that.
Okay, I see why. Yeah, because that's about a month before Iron Sight Nationals, which is when production will take place. I mean, limited. Why did I say
Yep.
that? Oh, because I was looking
Same
at
match.
production when I said it. Yeah, it is the same match, but duh. Okay, well, that makes sense. Yeah. Now, but in between those major matches, like how many local matches would you be shooting in a month?
When the weather's nice, I try. Kansas City's a really good spot to be at for shooting USPSA. I can go to an outdoor match almost every weekend of the year when the weather's nice, that are within an hour drive away from here. And then every Tuesday and Friday, you can shoot an indoor match. So I can shoot as much as I want, but I try and keep it to about one indoor, one outdoor a month. Maybe I'll try and get 2 indoors, 1 outdoor, 2 outdoors, 1 indoor, depending on what I'm feeling and how the matches are that month.
Well, you guys live in the mecca of shooting.
Yeah, it's not as good as the Phoenix area, but it's definitely up there.
It sounds like it. I don't have anything of that quantity around where I am. We do have a local match that's about 20 minutes from me. Then the next one is an hour and 10, and then the next one is about 2 hours and 10 minutes away. And then everything else is beyond that. So, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm definitely very fortunate to be in the area that I'm in.
Obviously, limited is what you're focused on. That's what you're putting everything into. How did you enjoy shooting the dot, though?
So I liked it until I shot nationals and my gun started going click and there was no bang.
Oh,
So I
that's
had a
never
whole
good.
lot, yeah, a whole lot of malfunctions day one that put me pretty far out of the match, where I had to change guns and ammo. So it wasn't a match that I really tried to take seriously. I think I only had one live fire practice going into it, so it was really more of a fun experience and helping out one of the local guys that went down there working his booth with GX Products Henning, and so I was basically just helping their booth out and running the little Bill Drill side match that they had.
I hear somebody did pretty good at that one.
Yeah. I didn't do too well, but Isaac Lockwood did a really spectacular run. It was a little bit
Yeah.
lucky because he caught one in the head, but um,
Sometimes luck pays off.
yeah, rather be lucky than good.
Yep. In that case, it paid off for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. Have you seen any of his other stuff he's posted recently?
Yeah, he's doing some good stuff. Especially he can crush some drills, and he's definitely a good shooter. I think once he can get a hold on his match consistency, he can definitely be a national contender.
Yeah. Yeah. He's going to be a scary dude when he puts it all together.
Hmm.
Yeah. He's very impressive. The speed with which he can shoot is crazy.
Yeah.
He's got everything fine tuned. Now, do you foresee ever in your future shooting a dot, whether it be open or carry optics?
Open is definitely something that I feel like I would be very good at. Um, I've shot an open gun once in a stage setting, and I did quite well. And then I've always wanted to, go up against like Christian because he's someone who I've kind of been gauging my performance off of because he started at a similar time as me, and so I kind of wanted to eventually shoot an open match against Christian and see how I'd shape up with him.
Yeah, I mean he's the guy right now. So
Yeah, I would definitely see myself shooting open possibly next year or the year after the 2024 season is what I'm talking about. But
would you have a preference for the firearm you would use for that?
no, I don't know. I've only shot a couple open guns, and there's not a huge difference between all of them. But you know, if I were to get into that open game, I'd definitely shoot a couple more and then make a decision.
Now, are you sponsored by any manufacturers in limited?
Um, a local a local gunsmith called Tactical Steel Customs has helped me out with my limited guns. He does good work, and he's going to be building, um, most likely building me another one. I'm still deciding on whether or not I'm going to shoot limited this year. I might shoot carry optics. There's still a little thought in me that might shoot carry optics, but I'm not. I haven't placed my order for my limited gun, but I'm definitely thinking about going with him again. And then after that, um, I'm definitely just going to see what division I want to shoot in the 2024 season.
I feel like Carry Optics this year kind of splits the season. You know,
Hmm.
I don't even
Yeah,
know if it splits it. It's so early that even somebody who is trying to, let's just take Christian.
hmm,
He could shoot everything up until Carry Optics Nationals, just everything Carry Optics, and not even miss a beat with his open gun because it's another almost 4 months later before he shoots. Oh no, it isn't. It's well, it's about 2.5 months later he's
yeah,
shooting open nationals. But that's still for someone who already has the skill. That's a lot of time to just go in and kind of refine things. I
yeah.
don't know I don't know what the guys who shoot carry optics what they're going to do for the next 4 months, waiting for the end of the season to roll around.
Yeah. It's a very interesting division with how popular it is, and that it has to have its own nationals. But I definitely want to shoot it because there's a whole lot of competition in there. Although I really
Yes.
want to stay with limited because I came so close to winning nationals, I kind of just want to get the job done next year.
Oh, I totally get that. Is there any IPSC in your future?
So I want to get qualified to go to the 2025 IPSC World Shoot. So uh, I'm going to be scheduling. I don't know how the qualifiers work out, but I'm definitely going to be shooting some IPSC matches here in the future, and then maybe the year after this, I might shoot the Puerto Rico match. Or is it the Puerto
Okay.
Rico?
I know which one
I
you're
think it's
talking.
Puerto
The
Rico.
Caribbean
Yeah,
Open.
Caribbean Open. Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't go this year, but this next coming season. But after that, I think that would be a nice match to shoot.
As long as it's not raining too hard.
Yeah, well, it can't be perfect.
Yeah.
I heard that one's got some good food.
Oh, I hadn't
So
heard that, but I believe it. Would that then be the farthest match from you that you've ever shot?
yes, definitely. I think Frostproof was the furthest match from me. Um, and then I think Bighorn Classic out in Colorado would be the second.
Now, where is that match held?
Grand Junction, Colorado. It's a Cameo. Um, it's a very nice match. but we didn't go last year, and I don't think we're going this year.
So what does your make ready look like? So if we're going to put you in limited nationals, they call your name, you walk up, and the RO says, make ready. What does that whole process look like?
So it takes a span of about exactly 1 minute for me. So it's nothing too crazy, but I normally try and get one good draw in. Most of the times it's on my first one. Sometimes I got to go 2, sometimes 3. But I get one good draw, one good look at the sights, and then I load my gun. I put one in the chamber, and then I grab my last mag, stuff that in, and then I go through the stage once in my head. I get in the starting position, and then I have my right hand on my gun and my left hand down. I take a couple deep breaths, and then I drop my hand, waiting for the buzzer to go off. So it's nothing too hard. I'm gonna try and change it up because I want to make my make ready IPSC like compatible with the IPSC rules.
Right.
So I'm gonna see if I can work out a sight picture, and then that would probably be the only change that I see getting in my make ready, but it's nothing too spectacular.
Well, the other thing about IPSC too is you have to look straight ahead. Like if your first
Hmm.
target array is to the right, you can't look that way. You've got to be looking straight
Yeah,
ahead.
but yeah, body's got to be squared up, and you got to be standing like straight up and down with hands at your sides, looking forward. So I mean, there's a little bit of a change there, but I kind of just want to get in the habit of not having to look at a sight picture before, because I think that would be something that would be the hardest changeover from IPSC. But um, it's just a make ready.
So how much, then my question to you is how much prep time between your walkthrough and your make ready? How many mental visualizations do you make?
That's a good question, but I don't really go through it in like the whole stage in my head. Sometimes, like when other people are shooting, I'll watch them. So when I walk through a stage, I try and identify like the problems that I could face. Whether that be a little positional error, or a target that I'm thinking about moving on, but it's a pretty hard target. I'll watch other people shoot it and see some of the issues that they're having, and then I'll just visualize, me doing it in a way that's comfortable, from what I've seen other people. So if some people are having trouble getting into the specific position, I'll make sure to visualize that in the back of me getting into that position really tight. But I don't really go through the entire stage in my head. But during my walkthroughs, I try and be extremely detailed and really conscious of every action that I'm doing. Like I'm trying to do really, like I said, a really accurate dry fire and really persistent dry fire.
Interesting. I try to visualize the stage as much as I can, run it through my head in between shooters.
Yeah, I don't really, like I said, I don't really go through the entire stage more than about once or twice, um, outside of my make ready. But that's just me. I mean, everyone's got their own way of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just think if you find a way that works okay for you, to where you're not forgetting targets or getting caught up in your steps and having to think on the clock, you know, you got a good enough make ready once you get to that point.
So, and it sounds like you found your process. Well, Scott, I appreciate you coming on the show. That's what I've got. Is there anything you want to add or any plugs?
I definitely would just want to, thank, of course, my family and everyone supporting me, and you know, all the kind words that people tell me at the matches. I definitely appreciate it, and I definitely look forward to crushing the 2023 season.
And the shooters that go with it?
Yep, I'll try my
All
best.
right. Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.